Good evening. I'm going to say something that's an oversimplification that works for me really well. And it's something that works for spiritual culture. And I've been hearing it ever since I've been involved with spiritual culture. And that is that we are all God. We are all God. Every single human being is an emanation of the one God. And every time we encounter each other, we're encountering ourselves. And this is true in the spiritual sense, in the ultimate sense. And the reason that I'm recording this now is because it just occurred to me how overly simplified that is. And it made me wonder why that? Why the oversimplification? And the answer is that humanity has sort of lost its ability to cope with the truth of the complexity of our world and why we're here and our truth and our identity as a species. I feel that the human race has lost interest in the truth and lost interest in the why, asking the question why. I don't think people are interested in karma, which is the law. In reality, the only judgment, the only punishment, the only reward, the only anything is karma. And karma is so complex and it's so undescribable, and you really can't place it neatly into a book, and you can't really even talk about it because it's unspoken and it's unwritten and it hasn't happened yet. You can talk about the past and the way that karma has played out, and you can observe karma from that vantage point in hindsight, but you can't really discuss karma in the sense of this is what it is. You can't really do that because we are in an evolutionary process, and especially nowadays with all the technology that's causing all kinds of major distortions in our soul, not in our spirit, because our spirit is untouched by the technology, but our soul is what is, the hot topic of the day. And it always has been. It is a war for souls. It's a battle for souls on this earth. That's what it's all about. The good guys versus the bad guys, that doesn't have to do with spirit. And that's not a spiritual issue. That's a soul issue. It's about the gathering of souls. And this is going to also sound overly simplified, but there's only one soul. And that soul belongs to the earth, and it stays with the earth when you die. When you die, your soul stays behind because it's like the commonwealth. It's part of the universe soul, the universal soul that we all share. You are born into a body which is ensouled with karma. And that karma is made up of gifts and lessons and all types of things from your past life and from heaven, because after you die, you go to heaven. And when you go to heaven, you are endowed with gifts and with lessons that may not seem like gifts because they're difficult. But the spirit world endows the human being with many, many things that are placed into the soul for that person to grow from and to learn from as they evolve on their path here on the earth. Human beings have lost their capacity to appreciate the dynamic and complex nature of reality to the point where all we can tolerate is oversimplification at this point. And of course, you have to replace things with things. So we're not able to handle complexity. Oh no, we need everything to be neat and tidy and sterile and sanitized. We need stuff to fit very easily and comfortably in safe spaces and in safe shapes that we can perceive comfortably without any challenge or any, not too much challenge, because we don't like puzzles and difficult stuff. We really don't want to be challenged anymore as a race, as a species. Technology has taken away the curiosity that we used to have, because human beings used to be the technology. We had to figure stuff out. We had to build stuff. We had to put things together and take things apart. We had to discover the inner workings of cells, and we had to be what we now have machines are up to. The machines have taken our place. And so it's totally a ripoff, and we're replacing actual complexity and dynamic, the dynamic interweb of experiences and karma, because like I said, there's only one soul, and karma is that soul. So you could call the soul karma. That's what I call it. I think the soul is the karma. And it's so abstract that I don't even feel like really saying more than that about it. But we all share the same soul, and this soul has a goal. And the soul's goal is to evolve, itself and the earth that it belongs to, because the soul belongs to the earth. The spirit belongs to heaven, and the spirit returns to heaven when the body expires, because everybody expires eventually, and the soul stays here, and the spirit goes home up to heaven. There's only one spirit, and there's only one soul. And it sounds ridiculous because there's a couple billion people. So you're thinking, how is that, the case? But if you think about it from the sense of animals, how animals, are instinctive. They only have one, they're basically all the same animal. They might have their little nuances here and there based on their environment and based on their nurturing, but there's only one soul for each animal. One cat soul, one owl, one raccoon. So you can predict the behavior of these animals because they only got one soul. And same thing with the human beings. You can predict the behavior of human beings because there is only one human spirit. But the soul of a human being is far more complicated than an animal. And so it isn't that you can just completely predict things, but there are some things that you can predict. And the reason is because we're all kind of essentially the same, spirit-wise. But again, we have replaced the actual complexity of karma with the complexity of things like gender, which isn't complex at all. But you see the pop culture filling that gap of complexity with things that should be simple and should be straightforward and basic, making 100 genders and crap like that, just to mess up, stuff that's simple, to make that complicated, and to make complicated things simple. They oversimplify complicated things like karma, because I will say about karma that it's the only law. There is no other law. Karma is the law. Karma serves God's will, period. Karma lives, the soul lives to celebrate and to glorify God up in heaven, the spirit. That's why it's a big deal that a human being is in a soul and is in a body, because the soul recognizes the spirit, and the soul rejoices when a person is in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just think of the amazing happiness of an infant, or of a child, of a happy child. That's because the soul and the spirit have reunited once again, and the soul remembers that spirit. The soul remembers that essence of, and it's very complicated. I mean, even I'm blowing my own mind right now with it, because the spirit is one. Yes, it is up in heaven. Ultimately at the top level, we are one, but there are many, many layers and many dimensions to the human being, and the implications of all of the variety and the different layers and the different all of the dynamics of karma is just so much. And it's not compact, and it's not neat, and it's not tidy, and it's not simple. And so I kind of, part of me despises the oversimplification of everything with the Christianity, for example. And I just, I don't want to pick on Christians, but I just have to point that out, because I mean they avoid so much of the things that are important, such as astrology. Those things are important. The position of the planets is important when you're born, and when things happen and stuff. The planets, all of it is connected. Everything is connected. The sky is like a huge calendar. It's a huge clock. And it moves like clockwork. It's perfectly precise. So I resent the oversimplification of our identity, and I'm fed up with it in a way, but then in another way it sets me free, because I really don't have to be bogged down with any complication, or any complexity or anything. I can basically say we're all one and just keep it moving, keep it pushing, just keep it stepping. So my whole identity is dedicated to the acknowledgement and the recognition of that oneness, and that's all I ever think about, and that's all I even care about. So at this point in my life, because I found out that I feel that the earth is the world, not the earth, but humanity, the world itself, the matrix, is not interested in the truth and finding out what karma is and why we're here. And if we're not doing that, then we're not going to exist very much longer. That's my point of view. So I'm pretty much just sitting here every day going through the motions, waiting for the end, because it's coming. The end comes for everyone. Everyone's body expires eventually. And I'm just kind of waiting for my body to expire. And it's not gruesome, and it's not grim. It's joyous, actually, because I realize that my work here is done. I did what I came here to do, and I can die happy now. I can leave this earth with complete abandon and just go home and never come into a body again on this earth, because it's not necessary for me to do so. That's the way that I feel today. What is it going to be like tomorrow, the next day? I can't say. I don't know. But I think that the oversimplification is very sad, and it used to bring me down and depress me, but I don't feel depressed about it anymore, because I realize that life goes on, and the spirit continues to evolve anyway, in one way or another. But it's just a little bit more different now. Things that are simple have become complicated, and things that are really complex and intricate have become overly simplified. So you do feel a kind of a death. I feel a kind of a death every day, existing in this kind of false, perverted, kind of distorted reality. It's just something that kills. It kills, right? We're dying. Our species is dying, and I don't want to bring anybody down or depress you with that, because death is beautiful in this, especially when there's so much suffering, because the earth is suffering. The earth itself is suffering as a planet. The earth is dying. The animals are suffering. The people are suffering. There's just nothing but suffering here anymore on this earth. And people, I'm not saying there's nothing but suffering. Obviously, there's joy, and there's pleasure sometimes and stuff. But what I'm saying is we're not getting satisfied as a species. We're not getting satisfied because we are not interested in karma. Karma is the law. Karma is the truth. Everything else is a distortion. All the so-called laws, and mandates and all the shit, people having control over other people, all of that stuff is just people crossing barriers and crossing lines of privacy that they shouldn't. All of that has to do with overreach and individuals judging each other and making decisions about each other's lives. Karma is the law, okay? if I do something today, everything I do, everything I'm saying, everything I experience, everything I think and feel, everything I offer, I'm creating karma for myself every step of the way. Every single breath that I breathe, I'm creating karma for myself, depending on my, beliefs and depending on my actions and so on and so forth. I'm creating karma for myself. The world, WHIR, the world that everybody is hypnotized by, is taking the place of karma and is trying to take the place of God. And so they got people saying they can rewrite their karma and all kinds of crazy stuff. No, you can't. Karma is the law. Everything that you do today, you're putting your thumbprint on the soul. And that thumbprint is yours. Okay? You are accountable for that thumbprint. So make it a good one. I love y'all. Peace.